Well, some great conversations hanging out with Randy and Mindy. Martin Gramatica just stopped by. We're going to get him on in about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm trying to get him in the Ring of Honor. I don't know how much you know about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So in the NFL and really everything, military, is hazing. Can we still say the word hazing?
I think we can still use the word hazing.
Okay.
I think it's frowned upon to actually haze people these days.
Depending on the level.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the level. Like what the New Orleans Saints did, I don't know if you know the story, but when they would make rookies run the gauntlet, they would load socks up with like rolls of quarters. And, I mean, that's taking it too far.
That's prison stuff.
It should be, and it should be.
That's going to leave a mark.
Yeah. Or when whatever the flight stuff is, and they take the backs off and they push.
Yeah.
I mean, you
blood
can
wings. Get your blood wings.
Yeah, you can take some stuff crazy. So football players, as a rookie, they're required to bring breakfast on Saturday. So, the meetings, and then they get on a plane and they fly home. So this guy was supposed to bring breakfast, and the rule to him and the other rookies that year, they had a great caterer, Jose. So the rule was you're bringing breakfast, and it can't be from Jose. You have to go and bring it from wherever, and it's hazing. So he forgot. So then he went to the caterer and said, hey, I need help. You need to put this all together. Well, he got caught.
Oh.
So what they normally do is, like, they'll take you to the goalpost and they tape you to the goalpost.
Oh,
and then do real stupid stuff or whatever. So Warren Sapp stepped in. Ironic that the Raiders are over here and Warren will be here on Thursday. He's like, hold on a second. That's our whole offense. Our offense stinks. Our defense is what really won the Super Bowl and all that stuff. So he protected them the whole year. And, it's one thing if Martin says no, but when Warren Sapp, steps up, it's entirely different. Give me your thoughts on not necessarily the two mini helmets, but the two teams that are playing on Sunday.
Well, obviously Patrick Mahomes has really set the bar to be involved in winning 4 of the last 6 Super Bowls is pretty remarkable for a guy at this stage of his career. He's really a remarkable player. I was rooting for the Lions this year, I'll be honest.
Me too.
I played with Barry Sanders. I didn't play with Barry Sanders. My freshman year at Oklahoma State was Barry's senior year. I got to see Barry play in college at Oklahoma State. First game I ever went to, he ran 2 kickoff returns back for touchdowns. I'm like, who is this guy? He was amazing and a great guy. We shared the same weight room, got to know him, rub elbows with him. He's a super amazing human on top of being an amazing player. And with no team, what he accomplished with Detroit, and to have Detroit finally winning games in the playoffs after 30 years of a pretty dry spell.
Sure.
I was definitely rooting for them. So, and they were in the charge of that game. I was amazed how that went down.
Overconfidence, cocky, the whole 9 yards, which is what Detroit did, and that's how they got as far as they did.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to put your ego to a side and kick the field goal.
So because Frisco beat the Lions, I'm going to pull for Frisco. I'm hoping that Frisco gets it done in the game on Sunday. I like, and they have a very healthy rivalry with Seattle, which is where I grew up and the team I usually root for.
Right.
And obviously they haven't had a great year in a little while now, but that's how I feel about the game. I don't want to open any of the other stuff that is on my mind about about what's been going on, and frankly a little tired of the circus that's been surrounding the Chiefs this season.
For sure. Yeah. Mindy, do you have, are you a football fan? Never mind.
I'm excited because he's excited. The NFL lost me a while ago, but I consider it high noon Sundays when he watches football, I have fun with that. But there's one thing I'm definitely not looking forward to on the Super Bowl, and I think a lot of people are, and I don't even think I have to say it.
No, and a lot of people are, though.
Who? Are they 13?
Well, it could be. Before, Matt, to ask your question, Google when Barry Sanders ran past John Lynch. John Lynch, Hall of Famer, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, the GM of the 49ers. He's still trying to pick up his jockstrap. It's amazing because John Lynch is now in the Hall of Fame, and that's what Barry Sanders did to him. But all right, go ahead, Matt.
I think everybody participates in him being able to achieve that accolade and get that black belt. So and that's probably the only shot that those white belts are going to get at spanking his butt as he goes through the tunnel, goes through the gauntlet. So I think they, and now they have that to look forward when they get their black belt. So, yeah, I think everybody should participate. We're only as good as those guys we're on the mat with every single day, and that's whether you're a white belt or a brown belt or any. I think work ethic, certainly. I look through the eyes of that wrestler that got me well into my 30s, still competing at the national and international level. do wrestling, and then fighting just became an extension of wrestling for me. So I think recognizing as an older athlete, I was 34 when I started fighting. I was already, by most people's estimation, over the hill. I think you learn to take care of your body. You learn to rest. You have a plan. You try to train and fight smart. And I didn't do that when I was younger. And I think as we get older, we get smarter, thankfully. The science of athletics. The science of athletics has come a long, long way as well. You're seeing athletes across the board in all sports compete and train at a much higher level for much longer now. What used to be 30, I now think is 40. And you're seeing athletes like myself and others like Brady that trained and competed at a very high level well into their 40s. And I think that's a combination of being smart about your training and that lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle, but also tuning in to all the modalities and all the things in sports science that we have at our disposal now to get the most out of these bodies that we have.
Have you ever thought about it? It's one of the numerous dumb questions that media asks, athletes. Have you ever thought, if you were 25, if you were 32 today, in today's, environment with the science, with everything, what bigger thing, not that it could have been bigger, but are there fighters that you could have, should have, would have?
Man, it's tough to look back like that. I'm happy with everything I accomplished.
Nothing we can do looking back or looking ahead.
It doesn't serve me any purpose to look back like that, to be honest. So
right.
I don't have any regrets. Things turned out exactly the way they were supposed to turn out, and I have to stand on that and live by that. So that's okay with me.
I asked Otto Graham that once, former quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, and I said, could you imagine today, he was the highest paid football player for 2 years in the 40s, okay? The 40s,
yeah,
all right?
Yeah.
So, like, rookies are making, Purdy's making $900,000. Granted, he's going to get a sizable pay raise here very, very soon. Mm-hmm. So I asked Otto about that, and he goes, well, I was paid $40,000 a year. I was a millionaire. Because 40 back then.
By those standards,
right,
for sure.
Was by those standards.
And at the end of the day, we're doing what we do because we love it. It's not about the pay. Certainly the pay is nice, and we're putting ourselves on the line and putting ourselves at risk. And you want to be able to take care of your family down the road when you can no longer play the game. And that's where that comes in and is important. But at the end of the day, we love this sport. You got into sandlot football. I got onto that wrestling mat at 10 years old because I had a genuine passion for the sport, and that's what it's about.
Before we go back and talk about the PFL, it's not a merger. It's more like a purchase, right? They purchased it. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about the movie roles, things you got coming up, and possibly, what it was like to be on some of those sets, with some people that we might have heard of.
Yeah, well, obviously Expendables 4 is still playing. I'm getting texts all the time. Oh, I saw it on the airplane today. And, and it's doing very, very well. And it was a fun project to be a part of. All those Expendables were just remarkable. Definitely one of those pinch me moments in my life where I'm like, what am I supposed to be here? It was unique for sure.
Shocking that Sylvester Stallone has movies that go on and sequels, which is great.
Nobody does it better than he does, honestly, between, Rocky, Rambo, obviously spin off to Creed, and now we have the Expendables. We just did Expendables 4. Hopefully we'll get to do a 5 and a 6 and a 7 somewhere down the line.
Sure.
Who knows? But right now waiting on one called Inside Job. It's a mob movie supposed to film here in Vegas. Got a little sideways because of all the strike stuff that happened this last year. And so now they're kind of reorganizing and figuring out when we're going to start that one. I got another one that I'm attached to that I really like that I may get to work with Kurt Angle. I'm hoping Cowboy Cerrone gets in that cast as well because I think he's doing some great things as he transitions to acting. It's called The Ranch, dealing with cartels and some of that. Got a little Rambo, the latest Rambo. It's got kind of a little of that feel to it. But a lot of action, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it'll be fun to work with Kurt and hopefully Cowboy Cerrone as well.
So will the fans start, chanting the "You suck" thing? Is that crazy that that's how people know him?
Yeah.
In the back, they don't know the background story per se that, whatever, but you hear that music and that's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
You love the guy, the Olympian, the whole 9 yards, and then you hear "You suck, you suck." It is kind of funny.
Everybody's got their shtick, certainly in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk more about PFL, Bellator, how it's going to expand the brand. Some other things that is now in place, and we briefly mentioned it. When this happens, there's a lot of jobs. How is there enough work for a lot of people?
Yeah, again, they opened PFL Europe. That started last year. They had a great championship. They sold out several of those shows. Their final was in Dublin, which was a hugely successful event. They're launching PFL Middle East and PFL Africa this year. That's 2 more regions. Obviously, Francis Ngannou is the chairman for PFL Africa and developing content and opportunities for athletes like him in that region. Obviously, Riyadh jumped in, and the Saudi Arabians jumped in full bore with PFL Middle East, and that region is coming to life this year as well. Several PFL, a new female signee with the PFL from Saudi Arabia, was the first female coming out of that region in the fight game. So
it's just obviously going to be important.
Going to be very interesting to see how that goes. The Minister of Sport for the entire country is a female. So things have changed significantly since 2016 in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And that's all positive. That's all good stuff. Driving, school, education, and now the workforce as well for women in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is a huge step in the right direction and progress. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. This PFL model is going to be very interesting to see how they do and how that goes. Some amazing athletes on that roster in the PFL to match them up with Magomed Kirimov.
That's why I had you said the names.
Ray Cooper III, Jesus, I always want to call him Jesus Pinedo. Obviously Kayla just went to the UFC. I was excited to see maybe Cyborg and Kayla at some point, but Larissa Pacheco, who just beat and derailed Kayla's undefeated run in the sport, will still be a very, very interesting fight with Cyborg at some point down the road. Be interesting to see how this unfolds. Like I said, Ryan Bader and Renan Ferreira, that 6'8" phenom, that's going to be a very, very interesting fight. There's a lot of great matchups on this card. Biagio Ali, I think, making his pro debut on that card. That's going to be a very interesting fight as well. And the kid's an amazing kid. He trains at the gym. Obviously, I see him all the time. And I really love what he stands for and what he's representing in mixed